Good morning. How are you? Oh my gosh. Hi, my name is Natasha. I am the creator and the founder of the Glow Up Method, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Okay, so here are my confessions. I went on vacation and I came back, and I've been back for a few days, but I have not been in my game. So first off, let's get to the goody parts. So on my trip, I had the privilege of going to Sweden, and I started in Gothenburg, and I know I'm going to annihilate these names, and my apologies, but I went to Gothenburg, and then drove to, explored there for a while, went to, Jönköping. I can't say it, but beautiful. And then drove to Stockholm. So I literally drove across Sweden. I did a total of 800 miles of driving alone. At first I was really intimidated about going to another country and driving, probably because my last experience in another country was in England, and there's just no dice. Like I know my limitations, and especially on vacation mode. But I did a lot of research, and I was like, okay, if I fly in and I see these roads are crazy, like I can just forget it. We'll Uber, we'll train, we'll whatever. And I was like, no, I got this. So obviously there is a, large learning curve where it's like, this is the motorway and we're kilometers, and there were a lot of roundabouts, but it was actually a very, very beautiful and easily navigatable country. Most people, we did a ton of walking too. So, wherever we could walk, we would walk. I just have never been to a place that was so, it reminded me of Tahoe when I was a kid, because it was so clean. The air was crisp, and the people were very kind. Everything was so walkable. The public transportation was impeccable. It just made it so easy. And my biggest takeaway of the country is, especially coming from United States, where it's like bigger is better, Costco's and excess and cheesecake factories with 1,000 things on the menu. Going there, I just felt like, and again, I also was there in the summer, so we have, it was quite of an adjustment that, you're out at 1 a.m. in the morning, and there's still, it's like dusk, it's not fully dark, and then I think it was like 4 a.m., because the first day I couldn't figure out how to I shut the curtains, and I'm like, this curtain doesn't even fit. Well, there was like this whole blind in the window thing, didn't know that, so at 4 in the morning, it was like, let the Lord in. There was all this light in the room. But I would say, again, I didn't have a lot of time to prep going, and I didn't have a lot of time to really anticipate what was happening. Mine was a purely logical and logistical thing. It was like, how are we getting from point A to point B, and from point B to point C, and where are we going to stay? These kind of things. It wasn't about what was in this beautiful country. And so, like I said, I was so pleasantly surprised by the lack of waste. It was a very efficient country. I felt like everything was really strategic about where they placed their transportation. I appreciated, it was so cool. All of the semis and the buses, they didn't have a front. They were all electric. And everything tasted fresh there. Everything, the air was fresh and crisp there. And like I said, the lack of waste. And it just seemed like I would look out my window on occasion, because I had this beautiful strip of kind of this view of the downtown and a lake. And people, couples of all ages, were just walking around hand in hand, arm in arm, around their waist, and just strolling. It wasn't this hurried, busy, gotta go in a race feeling I feel here in the United States, and particularly where I live in the Silicon Valley. And it was just a much, in my opinion, you just saw people riding around their bike. Beautiful posture too. I was like, dang, they're there with their bikes, and in their baskets, they have their groceries, and they had flowers, and, whatever it was. And so it was just a lot of people out, a lot of people gathering with their loved ones. And I had the best pleasure of experiencing a high school graduation in Sweden, holy smokes, like nothing else. I don't know if Dylan would have missed it. Like I would have been like, listen, we're not missing this. It was the coolest thing. They had these huge trucks, and then there were like dozens of kids on each truck, and they had banners, and they wore these cute like sailor-like type hats, and it was like a full-on party. I was like, yeah, like celebrating with them, like balloons, people with signs. It was so festive from like morning until mid-afternoon. And I guess the custom is then you go home and you have a party, and then you go with your friends and things like that. But my God, that was so cool. So Sweden, you rock on the graduations. And I just, like I said, I love when I go to another country to like explore like what a grocery store looks like, because I'm a foodie. I love to eat. And I found it so fascinating. Like and I went into a couple just sometimes to get waters or whatever. It's not in excess like here. It's like, 4 rolls of toilet paper, not, 40 pack here. And, there's small sections of cereal, and their freezer section was not like an open freezer section, like here where it's like frozen food. It was this like lay down thing, like when you go get ice cream at like a gas station or something, like, and it was just like the lay down kind of freezers. And it was mostly like frozen fruits and vegetables, some like, frozen pizzas or something like that. But it was just so different than here. And I loved it for what it was. Like, I felt like it was like such a place to go relax and unwind and enjoy like just this beautiful life. Like it was just lovely. Again, like I said, I don't know how it would be in the winter. And the food was so good. And like the portion sizes were appropriate. Like you left full, and you really enjoyed your meal. It was like satisfying because it wasn't like shoveling it in, it was like you had an appropriate portion. There wasn't all the bread before or any of those things. So it took a real long, like everything's very casual. It took a long time for the check to come. It took like, I think I had to ask every time, which I don't know is rude, but I was like, we gotta go at certain points. Like they're like, oh, there's the American over there. But like my kids are into soccer and football, right? So there was like football all the time, like outside, like people are gathering to watch these games because there's a thing called the Euros going on in Europe. So, or in Germany specifically. But it was lovely. And so my son did not play as well. He had like a couple circumstances that just didn't go in his favor, but everybody had those same circumstances. And so it just wasn't his day. He didn't play well, and he got out on the first day. And so that left a lot of free time for me. So I was like, well, I'm not going to just sit here. So that's why me and one other mom, we drove out to Stockholm. And again, that was just so architecturally beautiful, and the waterways and the people and the food and everything was just magnificent. And the drive there was lovely. So I really appreciated that city as well. And then, we went back, and then we ended up making some adjustments to our flight so that we were just going to have a quick layover in Amsterdam. And so instead, because I was like, well, I already explored, so I could have went to Malmo, another city, but I was like, well, that would be 3 hours driving here and then 3 hours back, and then 1.5 hours to where the airport was. So I was like, forget that. Let's just do this. Let's see if I can change it so we have a stay over in Amsterdam. And so here I am, like last minute, like making these things. I literally stayed in like a hotel in the airport, which was again an experience. The room was about this big, and but again, I've slept in an airport, like in a bed, not like on the floor or anything. That was pretty cool, and being able to shower and things like that. So did that, was able to go and put my belongings in a locker. Like I did these things that I never would have imagined possible to do, and then not again that I could personally do. So I felt very adventurous. We explored Amsterdam. He really wanted to go on a tour of the Ajax Stadium. So we did that first, and that was really cool for him. And then we hopped on a metro, like the subway. We took trains. We walked. I think we walked like 34,000 steps that day. We took, my bucket list item was to, obviously do the canals. I'm a big water boat girl. So that was like lovely, and getting all the history and walking and just really getting to see this like immersion of, again, it's a big city. Like, so we didn't get to like go out to, the tulip fields or the windmill, but like to get at least like, if I never get the opportunity to come back, I at least saw some part of it. And so I felt really excited about that, and to like it was interesting to compare in a way Sweden in it, because it was like Sweden was so calm and laid back in a lot of senses, and then Amsterdam was like, it was the first warm day, the first sunny day, they said, since 2023. So like everybody was out, and I don't know, it's summertime, so you know, there we happened to be on a canal boat with somebody from the Sacramento area, so it was kind of funny. We're like, we brought the sunshine for you guys, and they were very appreciative of it. But yeah, it was just absolutely lovely to get to see these places like Sweden again. Like, sure, I'd love to go. It was never like it's on my, you know, like top 10 or whatever, but it's beautiful. 10 out of 10 recommend. Anybody who is looking for a very relaxing yet beautiful experience, I totally would recommend. Amsterdam too, it was so unique and interesting, and the buildings and the canals and all the bikes, and I just, the food, it was very populated, you know, reminded me more of like a New York or San Francisco, you know, it's a lot was going on. But so coming from one from the other was like a little bit like, whoa, you know, like there was tons of cars on the road, but again, great public transportation. We managed to get on the train. The only place we got lost was in the airport, and literally went through the passport control 6 times. So I have like 6 stamps in my book from an hour in Amsterdam. It was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was like, oh my gosh, from like the international terminal to the long story. It was, I swear, about 4,000 of those steps were just on the airport alone. So I say all that to say, wow, just wow. Like, I am really proud of myself. I couldn't help but think at one moment, because one moment Dylan and I, because I mean, we didn't sleep much. We literally were like, our flight, we had to be at the airport at 3 a.m, and I had to get the rental car there by 11:30. So we were just like sitting in the car with his friend and his friend's mom for hours, like trying to just kind of take a little nap before we had to get out and because our flight left at 6. And they said we still needed to get there the 3 hours ahead. So I was like, you know, man, at one point, Dylan and I were just sitting there on a bench looking at the canals and watching, right? Love that. And I just couldn't help but think, like, that 20-year-old girl in me that had the plans to go to Europe and just backpack and be free and spontaneous was totally geeking out. She was like, hell yeah, we did it. Because there was that part of me that was afraid to do it. Like, I committed to it. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm quitting my job. Da, 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 da. I had everything lined up. I had the tickets and stuff like that. I was going to REI to try on stinking backpacks to carry all my belongings to like go in a hostel. But like, here I was, a 47-year-old woman with all my lived and lived experiences, and I was out of my element, like out of my comfort zone. It wasn't planned and it wasn't perfect, and I didn't know what we were going to do every second, but yet it worked out and I had a good time. So like that inner child in me was so geeking out that like, hey, I can do this. I didn't need to depend on anybody. And yeah, I got lost and it wasn't always perfect, but there were times that like, I was laughing that I got lost in the airport, because we were at the airport and Dylan was eating. He was like getting a stomachache from all the smell of like actual cigarette smells he wasn't used to. So he's like, I'm just not hungry, because everybody was outside and it, you know, was nice. So we wanted to eat outside. Like, you were just smelling. He's like, honestly, it's made me lose my appetite. And so, he ends up eating in the airport, and, we're sitting there and I'm like, you know what? I just got to give myself and you a high five, Dylan. Like, we did this. Like, we didn't get lost. We changed, you know, like I was able to change my airplane to a stayover, find a hotel in the last second, you know, like we took an Uber, never going to do that again. That was scary. And then I was stuck with this nasty smell on me. Had so much like ease of taking the train and the metro. We didn't get lost. Like, you know, we took canals. We wandered all around the city. And here we are, you know, and then I get lost in the airport. I was laughing. I'm like, yeah, I played myself. I should have waited till I was laying in bed to like get all excited about how well I did this. But like, I can do these things. And I think that, you know, a lot of times I just get so scared, right? Like, I want it to be perfect and I don't want to go through the things. So it's like I spend 20 hours anticipating any possible, you know, place of pain and try to avoid it instead of just being like, have the experience. And so when I came back, like when I was on the plane, I started watching one of these Netflix shows because I had downloaded some things and I was like, I got all this time, you know, like I'm panicking about the plane. And I'm like, dude, actually, I'm like sitting on the plane. I'm like, I actually like planes. Like this is not bad. Like it is not bad at all. Like I just bad for me. And at one point, you know, I'm just eating my snacks. Like when I was on vacation too, it was like there was no sense of time. There's no sense of fasting. There's no, I'm like, I am going to eat. I'm not going to worry about food, what it is I'm eating, when I'm eating, how I'm eating, what I'm drinking. Just, I will go home and I can resume life as normal. But here, I'm just not going to care about like trying to navigate these things. I don't know if that's the healthiest thing or the best thing, but like for me, I was like, I don't even know what time it is in the United States. I don't know what time, like, I'm just going to eat when my son's eating. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I can't eat now. And here, listen, I was like, there's a free breakfast, and that free breakfast was like chefly made and delicious and fresh cheeses and fruits and smoothies. And I was like, I don't want to miss out on all these goodies, you know? So I was enjoying those. And then again, whenever somebody else wanted to eat, I was like, sure, let's go. Or I just wanted to go try an espresso in the middle of the day. Probably wasn't the best choice because I couldn't sleep at night, but, lesson learned. But there was this place called Espresso House and it was like everywhere, so I was like, gotta try it. Delicious, loved it. There was all kinds of just like pastries everywhere. Hello. So I just, again, I loved it. And I really wanted to experience and try it also. I, you know, didn't want to limit myself in that. But when I got home, it's been a little bit of a challenge. So when I was on the plane, like I said, I end up watching a show. And of course, it's like one of these ones that's like, has like romance and love. And it happens to be, you know, I'm at a very, you know, special time in my cycle, right? Where I'm a little bit more on the emotional side. And, you know, I'm watching it and there's always been like, I try to avoid it. So like, I don't know if you experience this too. Like you watch a rom-com, you know, you hear a fairy tale, a movie, a play, a musical, whatever it may be, a book, and you hear about like love, like true love. Like you're watching this, you know, this fictional story play out, sometimes factual, right? And it's just this thing. And I feel this like pull in my heart. Like I'm so sad that I don't have that or have never experienced it like this. And, you know, like the like practical, logical side of me is like, don't worry, like that, you know, like, but the emotional and vulnerable and, you know, just hopelessly romantic part of me inside is like, I want that. And I'm happy for like this, how it's unveiling on this, you know, screen for me as I was watching it, but it just like gave me these literal heart pains and I could just feel the tears just streaming down my face because I was like over, my son's asleep, thankfully, but I'm like, I don't know. It's just something that like since my start, right? Like since I was just this little girl, I've just always wished for, wanted, like desired this special kind of love where you see on the shows, right? Like that people like, you know, it's like you're one, these two hearts become one, and this person will do anything to make sure that this other person is nurtured and loved and cared for and not alone. And God, it just pulls at my heart. And I usually try to like not think about that I want that. And I remember a recent conversation with Chris that he was like, that doesn't exist. You don't deserve that. You'll never find that. Good luck to you. And you know, and that's fine, you know, but then it's like, sometimes my brain is like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's right. Maybe that doesn't exist. Maybe that is just in fairy tales. But there's just this something in me that is just like, I haven't experienced it and with somebody, and I would love to have that experience. And I'm just not a lovey-dovey kind of person, probably because like I feel like this and I'm always trying to like push it, like distract, like get down back in there. Do not feel like this anymore. Like, let's get going. We got work to do. We got things to do. We got, you know, other things. So I just completely distract myself. And then sometimes in these perfect storms, all the vulnerability comes out again, right? Something triggers it. A movie. It's typically a movie, a show, a book, or, you know, like something you see that's fictional. And so I have to remind myself too, like this isn't, but why not? Like I'm crafting the life I want to live. Why can't I craft a fairy tale for myself? And so I think for me, it was really important to kind of sit with that. And so whenever, again, like I watch a show, I'm in. Like we are family. So I have one last episode tonight to watch, and then I'm done, and I can get back in. But I like, between feeling like that, adjusting to the time, I just haven't felt like, I don't even know what day I think we came in on like Tuesday. Today is Monday, but it has taken me, it was late Tuesday. We had to go to the doctors immediately. Like after we got off the plane, literally went right to the doctors for Dylan's knee and Tyler's knee. And Tyler is off crutches. Yay! And building that back, and he's becoming more mobile. So he's not 100% himself, but he is damn near close to, closer than when we had to have surgery, and closer to than when he was walking around on crutches. So he is definitely becoming more independent again. And Dylan yesterday celebrated the 1-year anniversary of his ACL tear. So it's like, there's been a lot of things. And then there's been the compounding of, I have a lot of stuff that I need to catch up on. And I've been like distracting myself from doing a lot of things that I'm supposed to be doing or should be doing. And so I think, my new plan for this Monday is, I ended up, like, it was hot here, and so I slept with my windows open, which at 5:30 in the morning, the birds start singing, but they're beautiful birds. So it was a very pleasant way to wake up. And then, of course, the light was illuminating the room. And so I thought, okay, it's probably like 7:30, and I looked, I was like 5:30, but I was awake because I had fallen asleep at like 10:30 last night. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get up. So I laid there for a little while. I waited till 6 something to get up. And I really took my Swedish way of just meandering in the morning and took it a really slow morning, but also hitting those steps. Like I hit, doing my meditation, doing my dry brushing, that things that I haven't quite picked back up yet. Some of them I have, like I have been meditating since I've been back, but I haven't been filming. I haven't really been writing. I've been doing like some catch up and some things that I should have had done before I left. And then I kind of was in a little bit of I don't know if it was a depression. I'm not going to go to that extreme or anything, but I was not feeling 100% myself. Like a lot of, like yesterday, I was like, I think I'm just going to do 10,000 steps because I cannot do anymore. I just don't want to. Like, I kind of had lost a little bit of interest in doing a lot of the things I liked. And like, even this, like, I'm just like, I don't even know what to talk, because I just kind of felt like I was like, So I really was like, yesterday, get what you can done with the steps. And I got to 10, and then I was like, I think I could do 15. I'll get to 15 and stop. But once I got to 15, I was like, you know what? I'm so damn close. Just go to 20, take a shower, and go to bed early. And that's exactly what I did. And so I had like this stack of returns that I've been eating at me for weeks to do. So that all got out and gone. Hello, hallelujah to me. And it was just nice to have that space cleared up mentally and physically, because it's been something that's like, gotta get this done, it's just rolling in the background. And so having it done is very helpful. And I think that's the thing too, is like sometimes just like the feeling about wanting to feel this magical kind of love, and the tasks that I have on hand that I have to do, right? Like, you got to pay taxes. You got to, some things are non-negotiables. I mean, you don't have to, but I also don't want to go to jail. So, there's some things that you have to do, and in order to live the life you'd like to live, right? And so, telling myself, like, sometimes I just kind of almost ignore what is going on the inside. It's like, I'm so distracted, and I kind of know it's there, and I kind of try to silence it. It's like, I don't want to deal with it right now, right? But this morning was like, I just let it out, like on paper. I was just like, and I'm not doing this to complain and be like, oh my gosh, poor me. No, it's just like, I needed to just vent it out. I needed to just get it out and be like, I don't want to do my steps right now. I don't feel the same joy sometimes going to my dance class as I was. And I don't know the direction of where my YouTube is going. And am I going to finally publish this? Am I going to just keep this? And oh yeah, my classes, I'm weeks behind now, like almost a whole month between going to Dallas and I was trying to rush through. So strategizing on how am I going to get through these classes and not get through it. Cause it's not about just getting through it. I didn't sign up for these classes just to say I went through it. I wanted to learn. And so how do I balance that? And, coming up with a strategy and saying, okay, here's this, and getting to write and just get it out again. Just like like release some of the stuff that's going in my mind, getting some of my steps done before 8 a.m., right? Like, and then I had this plan. I was like, I'm going to do 12,000 steps now and do my writing. And then I'm going to leave myself some steps because I've noticed that if I eat, because I eat usually once or twice a day, but I eat big meals, and then I feel just, my body is like ready to digest and go to sleep. And so I feel sluggish. But if I walk, if I move, if I do things, then it kind of helps the process. I don't feel like blah. And then afterwards, it's done. I'm done. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to allocate enough. I'd like to do, 8,000 steps after I eat, like, so I can, that's about the length of a show. I've got one show to watch. And so usually I don't watch shows, but once I do, I'd like to get through it. So I'm going to finish my show, and then I'm going to use today to really get some more of these activities that are kind of weighing me down, that I was able to vent and get out on paper and say, here's my plan. Instead of wasting all this energy trying to evade it, because it's still there, we're going to address some of these things so that I can free up more space. And when I free up more space to do the things that I have to do, I'm creating space to do the things I want to do. And I think that this is the secret to life, right? Like, there are non-negotiables. We, have to pay our rent, our mortgage, or whatever it is. Like, we have to eat, we have to shop and cook. And there's a lot of things that we have to do, but there are a lot of things that we don't have to do. And so we can get through those things. And instead of, for me personally, evading and avoiding, or, just not getting it done, it's still taking up the mental space. Like, it's still in here. It's even getting more attention, because it's like I've wasted this time worrying about or talking about doing it when I probably could have got it done in half the time. I talk about this with my kids often. Like, they'll be like, why do I have to do the dishes? I didn't eat that day. I'm like, it would have been done if you would have just done it by now. Like, it would have been done. It was 3 dishes that needed to go into a dishwasher. I'm not asking you to scrub, dry, and put it away all at once. I'm asking you to put it from the sink into the dishwasher. And so, I say that to say, like, it's interesting to me because I do the same thing mentally. It's like, oh my gosh, I got this project. I got to call this thing. I got to call the SBA. I got to do this. When am I going to film? When am I going to, so I think for me, getting it out on paper and creating a plan and an action plan and being able to tick things off that I have to do creates this space that I can create this life I want. It frees up that energy and that time to pursue the endeavors that I enjoy without all this kind of weight in the background holding me down. And I think, that's a lot of the part of why this last week, it's been a struggle for me to start recording and start doing things. But you know how I love a good Monday morning. Like, it's a reset week for me. I really took care of myself yesterday. I got through some activities. Chris was out of town for a couple of days, which gave me some kind of mental peace to be able to navigate the downstairs part of the house without having to have conflict all the time. And so I was able to get a lot of things accomplished and done in that aspect. And I loved it. And so I'm really going to work hard this week at devising a new plan for my strategies going forward, as far as when am I going to start to launch this? Because that's a huge courage thing to take, and where I am kind of wasting some time and energy and not really putting my full thing through. So I really need to kind of chunk out my days and say, here is where how we're gonna navigate the day, beyond like, here's a PT or here's things like this. Like, really kind of break it down a little bit further so that I can get through things and I can feel and see all the things that I've accomplished in the day, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, all these things I didn't accomplish. And so I really take for granted so many of them, right? Because they're part of my habits, like making the bed, brushing my teeth. Like, these are habits. So it's not like, oh, I brushed my hair today, like high five to me. But I have to remember that every little thing I choose to do is going to this bank of gratitude and accomplishment and things that I should be proud of. Like, I put on my watch today. That wasn't always a thought thing, like that natural thing. There were so many days I'd be out there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to put on the watch today, or, oh, I forgot to charge things. So, like, becoming a part of a new habit. And so, like, this is a habit that I like and I love. And so coming back this morning, I feel really excited. Like right now, I'm like, I'm so glad I could sit here for hours, but I know me. And so I need to stay true to my word. And we're going to stick with our 30 minutes. And I'm going to say this to you. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Like, thank you so much for listening to my stories and hearing me. I hope I've inspired you to go out there and take an adventure if that's what you like. And maybe if it's not taking one, if it's reading one, watching one, whatever speaks to you, go do that. You see the world so differently when you come back, and there's so many things that Sweden has taught me. And so like yesterday I was like, I'm just on Sweden right now. Like, this is quality of life. I am not going to stress myself out and be my typical American self and be like, do more, buy more, eat more. I'm just going to calm down and have a little bit of quality of life and give myself the grace to say, today isn't the day, but tomorrow maybe. And I will get back at it. And I know that because this is something that is calling to me. And it is something I really appreciate and value. And so I say all that to say, I thank you so much, because I know there are 1,000 things that you could be doing. And of all the things in the world you've chosen to do, you've stuck with me all the way to the end. So if you could just do me one huge favor today, go out there, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. So thank you. Bye.